Hi, welcome to another Gimp 2.10 tutorial. My name is Eddie, and this time I'm going to show you how to create this tomato artwork that I did on Gimp 2.8. With this new version, it's going to be a little bit just different, but it's basically the same steps. And the first thing we want to do is we want to go to File and create a new image, and this new image is going to be 800 by 600 pixel. And make sure your background is white, and then add a new layer. Name this new layer tomato. Okay, here, and then we want to create the shape of the tomato, and for that go to Scrifu, Shape Path, and Oval. And here I did the configuration already for the center X 400, center Y 300, top radius 179, left radius 200, bottom radius 197, right radius 222, and click OK. And if you want to see what you did, all you have to do is go to the path dialog and make the path visible, and this is the shape that we're going to use for the tomato. So click on the eye again, make it invisible, and go back to the layers dialog. And here go to the foreground color, and the color we're going to use first is going to be F63913. Go to select from path to activate the path, and then click on the foreground color and drag it to the center to fill the selection with it. And what we're going to do next, we want to create some kind of shade along the edges of the tomato. One side is going to be dark, and the other one is going to be lighter, since the light or the reflection is going to be here in this side. So we're going to use the layer effect .py. You can do it with the other version too, as long as we come up with the same result. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to change the color here. So we're going to change the color to E72501. Okay. And then click OK. And then go to layers, layer effect, and we're going to select inner shadow. Let me set this back again to the... Okay, here I'm going to explain you like I explained before in the other tutorial. Don't left click on the color picker, otherwise you're going to receive an error and the filter is going to disappear. For this new version, Gimp 2.10, it works by right clicking on a color picker and select the foreground, since the foreground is the one that we changed. So select the foreground. Okay, and we're going to change the blend mode to a normal, and then the opacity is going to be 57. For the angle, we're going to make it 180. The distance is going to be 68, and the choke 27. For the size, we're going to make it 75, and make sure that you have merge with layer checked, and click OK. And what is it doing? It's doing this side of the tomato, and it's going to be darker like I explained before. Okay, and we got that side done. And then what we're going to do is going to do the left side of the tomato, and we're going to apply the same filter but with different configuration. So go to filter, and it's going to appear right here. This is the last filter. It's going to always appear on reshow. So click inner shadow, and the color we're going to leave it the same. And the normal, we're going to change it to addition. The opacity, make it 65 this time. The angle back to 0. The distance is going to be 86. Set the choke back to 0, and the size same as the distance, 86. And make sure you still have merge with layer checked. Okay, and click OK. This time we're doing the right side, or the right side as you look at it, but it's the left side of the tomato. And there you have it. Now you have, one side lighter and the one darkens, and the light is gonna come up from this side right here. Okay, and then what we're gonna do, we're going to change the foreground color once more, and this time we're gonna make it FF 50 to make it that. All right, be lighter color, and then we're going to pick up the brush tool, and we're going to select the hardness 075 soft brush, and make this size for this brush pretty big, 400 pixel. Then come to the center of the tomato, just align it. It has to be perfect, but center tomato, and click once, and we got that front shade of the tomato. Then what we're going to do, we're going to add another layer on top, and this one we're going to name it Peel Colors. Name it Peel Colors. We're going to create some kind of colors, on the peel right here, and then go to Filter, Render, Noise, Solid Noise, and here we're going to apply the default. Then after that, go to the layers mode or blend mode and select overlay, and make the opacity, reduce it to 40. Okay, and we got this different colors right here, or this different spots. Then after that, another new layer on top, and this one name is Spots. And this one we're going to create some spots here on the peel of the tomato, little dots that the skin of the tomato has. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to the foreground background colors palette and change it to the default mode. Grab the color, the black color, and just drag it to the center so you can feel that selection once again. And then what we're going to do is going to filter, noise, and select HSV noise. And the first three levels we're going to leave it as is, but we're going to change the value here to 0.8 and click OK. And then we're going to go to layers mode or blend mode and change it to overlay also, and then reduce the opacity to 20%. Okay, and we got those little dots or little freckles that skin has, the tomato skin. And then we're going to add another little layer on top, and this one we're going to name it reflection. This is where we're going to place the reflection of the tomato. And first thing we want to do is we're going to change this. Click on these little arrows here to swap the color, to change the color. We want that foreground white. Pick up the brush tool, and I have a brush named Windows right here selected. I created this. It was going to resemble a light reflection from a window. So make the size, let's see, make this size, leave the size as it, and leave everything. We're going to keep it in that size. So what we're going to do, come to the image and click off the center in the left side of the tomato and a little bit up right here. That's good enough. And you can make that reflection. You cannot go wrong, but I rather do you here because the light is going to come up from here. When I explain you about the shadow, you're going to see it in the back here. So we got that, and we're going to now add another new layer on top, and this one we're going to name it stem base. Is the base of the stem of the tomato is some kind of off color here on the top of the tomato. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the stem base brush. I created this brush also, and we're going to make the size of this tomato, let's make it 300, and the aspect ratio, change it to 14. Then come up to the top of the tomato and line the top of the edge of the brush with the tomato, and make sure you're in the 400 right here in the center. have to be perfect either. Just make sure you do that and just click twice, and we had that. And what we're going to do, if we next we're going to create some kind of ridges that the tomato has on top, or I call it shoulders. Add a new layer, name it shoulders, or whatever you decide to name it, as long as you can identify it. And then what we're going to do, we're going to choose the thin star brush, and we're going to make the size of this brush, make it 300. Okay. Then we're going on the center of the tomato, and we're going to click once right here on the center. Okay. Then now select the new tool, the warp transform tool. And if you're not familiar with this tool, I encourage you to do it. It's a nice tool. It replaced the eye warp tool, and it has good features and different way. It works in a little bit different from the eye warp. So try to get familiar with it, and you're gonna see you're gonna like it. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do in the options is you gotta see this option where they got different effect style of effect. We're gonna select move pixels, and the size is gonna be 400, and the hardness is gonna be 80, and the strength is gonna be 50. And what you have to do, we before we do anything, just go to select and get rid of the selection. We don't need it anymore. So what we're going to do here, we're going to click on the bottom of the tomato right here, on the edge of the bottom of the tomato. Click once and hold your right click and move it up straight. It doesn't have to be perfect, or don't have to be super straight, but make sure that when you go up to the 200 mark on your side ruler, and what I'm saying side ruler is right here, so we got up to there. And after that, just select the move tool, and make sure before you move anything that you have move the active layer checked, and then click and just drag it to the center. Click that star and make it to the center, just about there. That's good. And then go to the layer and right click the layer and select layer to image size, so all the layers are in the same size. All right. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go to filters, and we're going to give some kind of effect to it. Distort, emboss. And here in emboss, just apply the default. Then go to the layers blend mode and change this one also to overlay. And what we're going to do next, we're going to give more depth to this shoulder, or to these ridges here on the tomato. For that, we're going to use the layer effect again. So go to first thing we're going to, let me see, go to the layer effect, and select this time inner glow. Okay, and like I said before, don't left click, never left click on the color picker, otherwise it's gonna disappear and give you an error. So we're going to change this to black color, so we don't have to change it here, since when you click right, one of the default colors are black or white, so we're gonna select black. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna change the blend mode to make it overlay. All right. And then the opacity, leave it the same. Here on the choke, we're going to make it 20. The size, we can make it 12. And here where it says contour, change it to cone inverted. Okay, select cone inverted and just apply. Alright, that's a little bit more depth. And then what we're going to do, we're going to select layer and go to layer effect again, this time bevel emboss. And here we want to change the style to inner bevel. The depth is going to be 65. The size, uh, we can make the size 14, and the soften, make it 10, and that's it. All you have to do is click on OK, and we got a little bit more depth on that. Go to the inner shadow layer and select filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and here uh, make it 3 pixels. All right, and then select the shoulder again, the shoulder layer, and duplicate this layer just a little bit more to add more depth. And what we want to do next, we're going to give a little color to this tomato. So select the top layer and make the background invisible. Okay. Then you're going to right click and select from the options new from visible. And what we did is we just created one image, and we have all this effect into one image, and make the background visible once again, and make sure you're in the visible layer. And here we want to give a nice color, nicer color to this color that we have on the tomato. So go to colors and go to brightness and contrast, and we only going to change the brightness and make it minus 30. Okay, and then go to colors again and select hue and saturation, and here we're only going to work on the saturation, and we're going to make the saturation 20%, and that's a nice color. That's a nice and brighter color to it, more realistic color. And then we're going to add a new layer on top, and this one, name it stem. This is where we're going to place the stem, and then pick up the brush tool and select the stem layer, the stem brush, and we're going to make this brush make it 350 pixels. Okay, and then go to the top of the tomato right here where the stem is, and make sure you're in the center, that the stem is on the center, right, just about there, and click once. All right, and we got the tomato. Now we want to create the shadow so we can make it more 3D than it looks right now. It looks a little bit 3D, but we want to create a better effect on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the visible layer. Okay, and then we're going to filters, light and shadow, and select perspective. It's another filter that a lot of people don't use commonly, but if you use it, the more you use it, the more you're going to learn to make shadows and to see where the lights come from and where the shadow end up. And here we're going to make the angle first 120, and then we're going to leave relative distance horizon the same, but here relative length of shadow we're going to make it 0.7. Change the blur radius to a 10, and the opacity we're going to leave it the same. So click OK, and you have that nice shadow on the back, line up with that reflection. Now we want to create a reflection here too, so select on the stem, so select the stem layer and just apply the same perspective shadow, the same. I'm gonna leave it the same. Okay, now I'm going to show you, I don't know if you noticed that the shadow overlaid the tomato, the edges of the tomato. So we want to get rid of that because it shouldn't be there. It should be behind the tomato itself. And the first thing we want to do, we're going to select the visible layer and then select the fuzzy select tool. And we want to click on the white part outside the tomato so we can have an inverted selection. And then select the perspective shadow right here, number one. That's for that. And just press the delete button on your keyboard. And after that, go to select, none to get rid of the selection. And you can see you don't have it any longer there. And we're done for this tutorial. If you want to make more effect on it, all you have to do is play some drops. You can find those brushes on the internet, water drops and water like running water drops, and you can place it on top of it of the tomatoes to make it more interesting. So this is about it for this tutorial. Thank you for following, and I'm gonna see you next time for another nice tutorial in Gimp 2.10.